I call this meeting of the Vampiric Council to order on this, the 4th day of October, in the year 2024. We didn't have any of you put forward anything for the agenda? I mean, Susan needs to pay her dues, and that's a real fucking problem, but it's a Friday, you know? We should do something fun. Some real kind of workplace bonding thing. Let's rank the fuckability of everyone we know in an open forum and really just linger on how we think they fuck and the things we do to them. I heard it on a podcast. Hard choices. No, I don't know what a podcast is either. I think it's some kind of gramophone that fits in an egg, maybe? I don't know. My familiar was listening to it. It's a podcast where they rank the fuckability of characters from a fictional universe to find the zenith, median, and nadir of fuckability. But in our case, it's really going to be about all the bodily fluids we drained along the way. Welcome to Hard Choices. I am your host, the sire of the Hard Choices world, who really could live comfortably chained up in a cell, provided you left me my phone, some Jack in the Box, and enough sex toys. Joining me on the podcast is a man who has hair glorious enough to make any vampire jealous, Dan Mulcairn.
I don't know about you, old chap, but I have a raging hard-on.
My fellow NB and goth maven, who is canonically of Romanian and less canonically possibly vampiric descent, Kit Mulcairn.
Real bold of you, Bob, to mention the date that we record this.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Now everyone gets to know exactly how long it takes to make that sausage. That single sausage.
And finally, a man who I've left a lot of bite marks on. Lack of fangs be damned. It is my dark lover, Kris Newton.
Oh, fuck. I'm sorry. I'm the tiny doll that contains the ghost of Kris Newton. Is that okay?
I can make it work, baby. It's almost time to open the lids of our coffins and stalk the night, boners in hand. But we do that holding firmly in mind the definition of fuckability. Fuckability isn't about what they look like. It's about what they fuck like. Assume you're into them and they are into you. How good is the sex and what is it like? With that motion passed, we can get into the list of characters. But first, some old business from previous meetings. The honorable mentions that just didn't quite make the cut.
Viago von Dorna Schmarten Schaden Heimenberg. He's one of the core vampires in the film, but we're not talking about him because we already talked about him back in episode 6, Vampires, even though he is the origin of Coming in the Eye. I mean, presumably it was done in history before him, but he's the codifier of Coming in the Eye. And if we ranked him in this episode, because he was also a median in the past, we would have a tremendous amount of cross-episode data about how all these characters compare to each other. But no, someone, and I'm not going to name any names, had to spoil our fun in this episode and exclude him from the list. And, it's fine. I mean, it's like the destruction of the library at Alexandria, but it's fine.
I thought the Countess was the median vampire.
I believe they were tied. She might have been the official. But yeah.
Okay, all right.
Number 2, Pauline the Beast Ivanovich, Vladislav's ex-wife from the film. She's alluded to significantly more than she actually appears in the film, unfortunately. And it's fun while it lasts. A lot of hissing. A lot of fighting on walls. It's great.
Number 3, Simon the Devious, the head honcho of the Manhattan Vampires, owner of the Sassy Cat nightclub, leader of the vampire gang known as the Leatherskins, and longtime coveter of Laszlo's cursed hat.
And finally, fourth and finally on our list of honorable mentions is Jackie Daytona. It's a shame that we didn't have room for this Mysterious regular human bartender who saved a woman's volleyball team, chased away a dangerous gang of charity-minded bikers, and helped Jim the Vampire get his life back on track. But keep an eye out for him if you're ever in Tucson, Arizona.
Oh, I do.
Fuck. I love Jackie Daytona so much.
If I didn't already have a Nick Cage shrine in my house, it would be a Jackie Daytona shrine.
Amen. And with them out of the way, we move on to the list of 17 characters we'll be ranking tonight.
So this is Kris and MeganBob from the future. The original recording of character descriptions didn't go great. It's my fault. I didn't finish the character descriptions in time. Dan and Kit tried their best. And if you are a patron, you can hear them trying their best in the outtakes. But ultimately, the best thing to do is to re-record these character descriptions later after I had polished them a little bit. So that's what we're going to do now. And that's why it's just me and MeganBob.
Hi.
Yeah, that's MeganBob. You may have met them on, there's a podcast called Hard Choices. Here we go.
Number 1, Vladislav the Poker from the film, a thinly veiled Dracula XP now living in New Zealand. Unlike Dracula, he doesn't seem to be corrupting the land with his miasma of evil. Good news for New Zealand, given its ecosystem's track record against monstrous invaders like the wallaby and the European goldfinch.
Deacon Brooke from the film. Deacon is the leather-wearing bad boy of the original 4 housemates. And by bad, I mean he's a Nazi. And by boy, I mean he's a mere 183 years old. On second thought, horrible man would be a better phrase.
Number 3, Peter from the film. A hideous ancient vampire who sleeps in the basement and does little in his short screen time, other than getting incinerated by the sun and marking the lower extreme of the New Zealand vampire attractiveness scale, which runs from Nosferatu to Jermaine Clement.
Nick from the film. First intended only as a victim, Nick becomes the newest addition to the Wellington vampire community and struggles to cope with his undead existence. Sadly, his name is a silly pun on the New Zealander pronunciation of neck, so other vampires may never truly accept him. Poor guy. The dick was really stacked against him.
Number 5, Stu from the film. A friend of Nick's who introduces the vampire housemates to modern wonders such as Skype and eBay. By the end of the film, he becomes a werewolf, proving once again that being a human in a modern paranormal story really just means you haven't declared a major yet.
Number 6, Jackie from the film. A middle-aged married mother who serves Deacon as a familiar in the hopes that he will one day turn her. It seems like she'll never receive the immortality she craves, but in an unprecedented turn of events, this local mom finds one weird trick. Vampires hate her.
Number 7, Anton from the film. The struggling leader of a Wellington area werewolf pack. He sees himself as an alpha, but his energy is more overbooked to dog walker.
Number 8, Officers O'Leary and Minogue, a pair of unassuming Wellington police officers. They first appeared in the film but spun off into their own series, Wellington Paranormal. It's yet another whimsical mockumentary, this one presenting cops as relatable and likable protagonists. Taika Waititi, you are hilarious.
Number 9, Nandor the Relentless from the show. A slightly obtuse king and warlord born in 15th century Iran. Nandor is undeniably arrogant and selfish. However, his erstwhile familiar Guillermo does a lot to make the character of Nandor more attractive, such as highlighting his nobility and bringing out his capacity for self-sacrifice. Also, you think Nandor brushes all that hair himself?
Number 10, Nadja Antipaxos from the show. A 16th century Greek Romani vampire who killed, then turned, and then married Laszlo. Jesus. There's grabbing somebody by the dick, and then there's establishing a vertical monopoly on it. Which is an economics joke, but that is also the term I prefer for reverse cowgirl. Vertical monopoly.
I'm going to hold you to that. Number 11, Leslie Laszlo Cravensworth from the show. An arrogant, amoral, gleefully perverse hedonist who cares for little but his own family and pleasures of the flesh, but who is in other ways very different from other British nobles.
Number 12, Guillermo de la Cruz from the show. A 30-something human who agreed to serve Nandor first as a familiar and then as a bodyguard, hoping that Nandor would one day turn him into a vampire. Early in the series, we learned that Guillermo is a natural-born vampire hunter, then almost immediately we got a scene where he killed a whole room full of vampires. More recently, we learned that Guillermo was gay. So what's the fucking holdup?
Number 13, Colin Robinson from the show. It turns out that there are both regular vampires, like the rest of the cast, and energy vampires, who instead gain sustenance by boring or frustrating others. You know, like how there are both regular board games and then there are German board games.
I like that joke.
I love it too. It's a very good joke.
Number 14, The Guide from the show, a longtime functionary of the Vampire Council. Over the course of the series, she's played the role of both stern authority figure and fawning servant to great comedic effect. But as many Hard Choices rankings have proven, the fact that you're putting on your dom or sub voice for comedy doesn't mean that it isn't hot.
Number 15, Sean Rinaldi, the Staten Island clan's regular Joe neighbor from the TV series. You know how people like to obnoxiously say that New York City itself is a character in rom-coms or shows like Sex and the City? Well, Staten Island is a character on What We Do in the Shadows, and his name is Sean freaking Rinaldi.
Number 16, Baron Afanas and the Sire from the show. Baron Afanas is an ancient European Nosferatu who comes to Staten Island seeking to conquer the New World. The Sire is the even more ancient, gargoyle-like progenitor of all vampires. The two now share a home and a pet hellhound in the suburbs. For the purposes of our list, we're stipulating that sex involves both of them. As for the dog, you can either lock it out and listen to it whine the whole fucking time or give up and let it watch. As always, this is a personal choice.
Number 17, Derek from the show. Introduced as a novice vampire hunter, Derek was turned during his first attempt at a vampire hunt, dicked around as a vampire for a while, then got killed again and turned into a zombie. Life comes at you fast, and so does Undeath. And so does Undeath Part 2. We begin, as we always do, at the median. In this case, everyone's number 9. Kit, who is your number 9?
Who the fuck is my number 9? Oh, hey! It's the Guide.
Oh.
Now, I don't think she deserves to be consistently forgotten by the Staten Island vampires like she is, but she definitely tries too hard. But, like, for real, I don't want to fuck her as much as I just want to go on a little friendship date with her. Make her feel seen and appreciated for once. And then I'm going to have hot vampire sex with her. So I don't know. I guess my kink is friendship. Disclaimer to my friends, I do not want to fuck you. Unless you're a vampire.
One person with a dark secret just went on a real journey.
Kris, who's your number 9?
My number 9 is Derek. And starting things off strong, I have no feelings about Derek. Hapless, cute enough, kind of a regular guy without much to recommend him. Also very little baggage, seems like. I'd go to the convenience store where he works and buy like a monster from him or whatever. If we're having a hard night and he happened to be nearby, that'd be fine. And I'd fuck him under basically the same circumstances. And that would also be fine.
Baby, samesies. Oh my God,
wow.
You cute, Dan.
Uh-huh.
All right, you go. You go.
All right. Well, in my case, apparently I do feel strongly about Derek because this is a big feels for me.
Oh, hey.
The whole recurring gag across all of these pieces of media is the juxtaposition of the supernatural with the quotidian. The fact that even after centuries of darkness and trauma, like, vampires are still just people. They have all the same foibles and mundanities that you would expect from people. Most of the actual vampires and supernatural creatures here have kind of like settled into the predictable rhythms of their life to the extent that they no longer really recognize or indulge in that which is like actually exceptional about them. And that's why Derek stands out on this list, because he's still kind of stoked about the fact that he's like part of the supernatural lifestyle. Like, it doesn't matter if he's a vampire hunter or a vampire or a zombie, like, he's curious and enthusiastic about it. So I don't think he would be a great lover, but if you play along with him, you know, if you like indulge in some of his fantasies and you share some of your own fantasies with him, like, I think you have the potential to have some fun.
Oh, I like this glass half full look.
Mm-hmm.
For me, things always seem to work out okay-ish for him. I mean, like, not well, but okay. He's got not 0% Hong Kong Phooey. Insects. Yeah, this is some hazy calculus, but I think that means he comes in my eye but somehow that makes me come too. Neither of us are going to fully understand what happened, and I don't think it's going to become clear at brunch the next day when we talk about it, because at that point, he's probably going to somehow be beheaded by a centaur and then turned into a ghost or something, which is great for me because I've always wondered if ghost cum tastes like anything. Mm-hmm. Like maybe what if a La Croix was cum flavored?
That's a really interesting point, Bob. I feel as though, like, you're such a monster fucker that, like, given Derek's whole history, it's only a matter of time before he becomes every type of monster. And if you can just kind of, like, be there with him along the way, like, you know, you're going to get the whole sampler.
Just be patient.
Yeah.
Bob, that is definitely what ghost cum tastes like. I can be convinced of nothing else. That makes all of the sense.
It's like if you burp and you just faintly taste cum. That.
Uh-huh.
All right, on to number 10. Kris, you're number 10.
My number 10 is Nick. Nick isn't a very interesting person, but he becomes interesting for a minute during his big emotional reaction to becoming a vampire, when his mood and confidence are veering all over. I think there's at least one big, aggressive, confident fuck in Nick while he's riding high. And if you can get that one fuck while he's feeling himself and then get out before the drop sets in, then I think you come out ahead, feeling like you had a sexy vampire experience. I'd fuck him. I need to check in with him first to make sure he's in crisis and hasn't developed any self-awareness. But assuming that checks out, yeah, I think he's a pretty good time.
I think the odds are in your favor there.
Dan, you're number 10.
My number 10 is Jackie.
Oh, what? Okay.
Jackie, like Derek, is another character who's just a normal person, you know, even if she's been turned into the vampire. But, you know, of these characters who are basically normal people, I do think that Jackie is among the more fuckable, just because, like, there are angles to her psychology that provide a way into her sexuality. Like, she's clearly craving validation and praise. She also deeply wants to push someone around. So I think, like, if you can key into those aspects of her, you're going to find someone who is hungry, eager, and grateful.
That's fucked up. I like it. All right. My number 10 is Stu. I like him. I like him a lot. There's a reason why everyone loves Stu. Everyone loves Stu for how much Stu gives to their life. Fuck those people. I don't really know or care if the sex is good. It's probably a little awkward, a little soft, but like the pleasure of giving someone a blowjob who just goddamn deserves one. It's like writing a small injustice in the universe. Yeah, you can totally write me in as like a judge in your local community if you want to. Like I have my finger on the pulse of what justice is. IDK, man, it just feels real good. Kit, you're number 10.
First big feels.
Oh.
Nandor the Relentless.
Wow.
Yeah, okay, listen. First of all, I love Nandor as a character. It's really, really hard to pick a favorite amongst the Staten Island vampires, but this is coming from a place of love, okay?
Okay.
For those of you listening who haven't seen the show, the title Relentless may sound promising. I assure you it's not. He will be relentless in his pursuit of you, and you may initially be very attracted to this gloriously dressed, very handsome vampire. However, you'll realize he is the emotional intelligence of a tween and is about half as smart as one. There is no way he's a giving lover, not with his blend of selfish and stupid. Even if you try to use his hot self for your carnal delights, it's not going to work out. He's just going to make it difficult with all his whining. He is a perfect example of a pillow princess. He is a pillow warlord.
Oh, man. I feel like that phrase may come up again in future hard choices. Because I'm like, now it echoes back in time across other episodes we've done. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
If only we had the vocabulary then, you know?
Yeah. That, sexual Amelia Bedelia. We've had some real like good phrases come up that are like, yeah, we needed those. Where were those phrases
for sure.
then? All right. On to number 11. I'm going to start off. Sean Rinaldi. He's so fucking stupid. That's not hot, right? Right? Like, right? Nah, I'm just fucking with you. It's unbelievably hot. The sex is going to be the kind of sex of someone who has like one half of one thought. And it's that they need to come directly on your tits while watching the game. And someone who commits wholeheartedly to that and doesn't have enough of a brain for anything else, delicious. Come on my tits with all the power and focus of your entire being in exactly 3 brain cells.
Bob, I'm going to cut in here. My number 11 is also Sean Rinaldi. Sean is enough of a party animal to make me think that he enjoys a good fuck, but he's also like that kind of guy at that kind of age where I feel like he's kind of settled into a certain rhythm and understanding and like expectation of what he wants out of sex. But we do see in the show that when he cares about someone, he is generous and giving to that person to like often a reckless extent. So I think he'd be willing to put in the work to make sure that you get what you're looking for, even if he's a bit out of practice with anything more exotic than like doggy style.
That is so damning. All right. Kit, you're number 11.
Oh, I'm also sorry for this one. Guillermo de la Cruz.
Aww.
Yeah. I would love to fuck up this cute little nerd, but he is definitely going to get in his own way. The psychological baggage Guillermo carries well outweighs the physical baggage Nandor and the other vampires make him carry for them. He doesn't know what he wants. He sure as hell doesn't know what he needs. And before you can get to the bottom of this bottom, he's going to flake on your date because the vampires need him for some bullshit.
Facts. All right. Kris, you're number 11.
My number 11 is Officers O'Leary and Minogue. I have some feelings about O'Leary, but they're conflicted. On one hand, she's a queer woman. On the other hand, she's a straight man. So is Minogue, and I don't know how to crack a stable covalent bond between a pair of straight men. Not that I want to break them up, but like I don't know how to get in. I feel like they're going to be facing each other, acting as foils to whatever I'm doing. Even if I do have some kind of chemistry with O'Leary, it's going to be the two of them. And ultimately, no matter what happens, even if it's fun, they're going to leave to keep doing their shtick, and I'm going to be left feeling like a one-off monster in an episode of Wellington Paranormal. Was I just another sentient fatberg to you, O'Leary? I don't need that kind of rejection. Cute hair, though.
Kit, you're number 12.
My number 12 is Baron Afanaz and the Sire. Does it make sense to anyone that I'm down to fuck the Sire, but I think the Baron's gonna make it weird? Nadja mentioned he was an amazing lover, and Doug Jones does bring a sort of Bowie hotness to it, but he's got like a cute boomer energy. Like, he's got no genitals, right? So I'm going to have to explain a strap-on to him, and he's going to be like, what marvelous contraption. It gives very teaching your peepums about his new smartphone energy, and that's not going to make me come.
Oh my god. Fuck. That's powerful.
Oh, that's incredible, Kit.
All right. Sorry, I'm just imagining like the worst call ever from your granddad. You're like, no, Grandma. You call customer support. I will not do this. Your grandmother and I just wanted to try. No, stop it. Okay. My number 12 is Anton. I want to be mated. He's not gonna mate me. Like, his gang looked more like the Geek Squad than it did a pack of werewolves. And this pains me to say, because I am hot for everything about Anton. Like, he's pure dweeb, but also irritable and bossy. Like, it's great. I just don't think sex is a priority for him. And what it is, it's like a thing that he does as quickly as possible in between emotionally supporting and guiding his collection of adorable scrubs. Now, go. No one's going to go with me on this. I was about to say go with me. You're not going to go with me. A gangbang with the Geek Squad. Everybody gave me looks of like, absolutely not. I don't want this. But so many werewolf snoots. So many werewolf snoots, like booping you.
Oh, I'm not saying no to werewolf snoots. I just wanted to make sure you weren't talking about the actual Geek Squad.
All right. Dan, you're number 12.
My number 12 is Stu. Yeah, Bob mentioned this. Stu himself doesn't really seem all that special, but like anyone who spends time around him kind of becomes like low-key obsessed with him.
Yeah.
Now that might be because like, we primarily see him through the eyes of the vampires who are like pretty socially starved and like very taken with this like new technology that he provides to them. But like this even applies to later when Stu joins the werewolves, and like the werewolves seem like they're pretty like socially in touch and less insular than the vampires are. But even they're just like, oh no, Stu's the best. We love him immediately. So I don't really see it, at least not to the extent that everyone in the movie seems to. But if I'm respecting the text of the film, like maybe there's just something about being in the room with the guy that doesn't really like translate through the screen or something. So like, yeah, I'm willing to give it a shot.
It's like friend pheromones or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe he smells incredible,
Oh, you are susceptible to that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Kris, you're number 12.
My number 12 is Sean Rinaldi. If you have intimate knowledge of my sexuality, either because you're my partner or because you listened to me on a podcast even once, you might have gleaned that I like it when sex is a whole fucking production. If that's the case, it might surprise you to learn that I really love it when sex isn't a whole fucking production. And I think if Sean were into me, he would like approach me with a cheesy line, make it clear he wants to fuck me. I, assuming that I were into him and wanted to fuck him, would fuck him. I don't know what would happen next, nor does it matter. Sean's benefiting a ton here, by the way, from the premise of the show. I have absolutely no attraction to or interest in Sean at all. But in a world where I do, I think it would be fine.
All right, we move now to the spookiest number, 13. My 13 is Colin Robinson. Colin has a sexuality that intrigues me. I think he's got a lot of freaky kinks, and it's whatever you're least enthusiastic about and most bored by that he's into in that particular encounter. Joke's on you, motherfucker! I am into other people's sexualities like you are into stamp collecting. Probably. I haven't seen the whole show. Does that mean that we could have a good time? I couldn't swear to it. But as a sexual energy vampire, I feel like there is something here that I can feed on. Dan, you're number 13.
My number 13 is my second big feels. And it is Guillermo. I'm going to admit, I initially put Guillermo much lower on my list because it's pretty clear to me that he's kind of scared of his own pleasure. He's kind of scared of like letting himself go, of allowing himself to be happy. Like it takes him 13 years before he sticks up for himself enough to go out on a limb and pursue vampirism outside of the obviously empty promises he's getting from Nandor. So, initially my thesis for Guillermo was, to paraphrase RuPaul, if you don't get off yourself, how the hell are you going to get off someone else? But hard choices rules are hard choices rules. And they presume a situation where he has decided to give himself over to you. He has, allowed himself the opportunity to pursue his own pleasure. He doesn't really have anything to offer you, but the idea of seeing him slowly open up, allowing himself to let go, like giving this guy some degree of validation and relief in his life, it's not everything, but it's not nothing.
Oh my God, are you part blowjob paladin?
This is what the show has done to me, man. My entire, sexual horoscope has drifted.
Drifted, I love that. Aimlessly upon the sea, unmoored from all things.
Mm-hmm. The stars are all over the place in the heavens above.
All right, Kris, you're number 13.
My number 13 is Peter. There are some characters on this list who force us to guess. Peter is one of them. I'm not a monster fucker. I generally don't get into any kind of filth, but light bachelor filth. So the fundamentals are not good with Peter. However, I like his eyes. Call it a Rorschach effect, but when I look at Peter's eyes, when he stonewalls all efforts to rope him into a social situation, he doesn't look like an unreasoning monster to me. He looks intelligent, self-possessed, disgusted at the prospect of others' company. In short, relatable. I think Peter and I have enough common ground that if we were into each other, we'd at least be able to have the hard fuck that we both want, followed by the emotional and physical distance that we also want, and that would be nice. Peter ranks lower than Sean only because I can pretty well guess what's under Sean's clothes, so there's a higher floor on how badly this can go. Monstrous-looking vampires are wild cards below the waist in What We Do in the Shadows, and for me, regular dick scores higher than monster dick TBD.
All right, Kit, your spooky number 13.
Officers O'Leary and Minogue. O'Leary's gonna work hard to give you that real by-the-book fucking. Nothing exciting, but you're gonna finish on her watch. Well, unless Minogue and his smooth brain is there. In which case, consider your boner metaphorically tased. And maybe literally, too. That might do the trick for some people, though. Not I.
All right, on to number 14. Dan, you're number 14.
My number 14 is Colin Robinson. Even if he's into you, he's so reflexively and habitually obnoxious and boring and frustrating that, like, I don't think he could really show you a good time even if he wanted to. He is only this high on the list for me because I think there could be fun in doing a very specific kind of denial kink with him. If he tries to do his usual, like, wet blanket energy vampire shtick with you in bed and you respond in the most positive and enthusiastic way possible, like, I think there could be some fun to be had in aggressively no selling him by yes-anding him and just like watching him get more and more frustrated as he tries and fails to drain you. I don't think he's all that fuckable per se, but he presents a situation for a certain type of person to have a lot of fun with.
Oh man, Dan, you're selling me on this fanfic. I'm like,
I had a feeling I might.
I'm like, oh, I could do this with him for like hours. Okay. Kit, you're number 14.
Deacon.
Oh, wow.
Y'all, this one's a scrub, and I don't want no. Even if he liked me as much as he liked Stu, he's still an ex-Nazi that sleeps in a closet and doesn't wash the damn dishes. But you may be wondering, how does that translate into the bedroom? There is no bedroom. He sleeps in a closet, a dirty Nazi closet.
Tough but fair. My number 14 is Guillermo. This will go one of two ways. Either he will see the hot mess parts of me and want to fix them, which no, I left those there for character reasons. Second option, he will get halfway into fucking me and then it'll get interrupted with dumb vampire bullshit. I can only ever have his full attention for fully the wrong reasons. And while I do love someone's full attention, I'm sorry, it does have to be for at least 80% the right reasons. Well, 75. 65 is as low as I can go. Yes, I'm aware that's a D, but come on, in some classes, a D is passing. All right, Kris, you're number 14.
My number 14 is Baron Afanas and the Sire, whom I like. Rather than insulting this lovely couple, let me explain my ranking positively. You know what I love in a sexual partner? A fucking lower body. And don't get me started on human motivations. Even better, once when I was working at a coffee shop, there was this guy with a killer lower body, legs all the way down to the fucking floor. So naturally I was interested, and he asked if I wanted to go somewhere. Can you believe it? He could go somewhere. They say that all the good ones are either misshapen horrors or rampaging murderers, but I don't think that's right. I think some guys have it all, and I'm holding out for one of them.
Okay, but when he rides the dog and the little car, it's the best.
They're great. They're having fun. It's wonderful.
Someone with a lower body can't do that shit, okay?
If I had to choose in a partner between a dog and a lower body, I think I would choose the lower body. And this is like nothing against people who would make a different choice.
You fucking basic bitch.
Kris is just salty that he didn't get to talk about the Fresno Nightcrawler.
All right, we're on to number 15. Okay, Dan, you're number 15.
My number 15 is Anton. I'm not a monster fucker, per se. So anything that I do with Anton is going to be, pretty strictly in his human form. So really, like, I'm just going to be fucking like an average white guy who's kind of high strung, like a little bit controlling, expects others to laugh at his pretty tepid jokes. So, I do think that he would do his best to show you a good time, because that's like kind of what his attitude is. But like, I don't think that his best is great. Like, it's maybe pretty good.
Oh, poor Anton. Okay. Kit, you're number 15.
Nick, the neonate, if I'm allowed to use Vampire the Masquerade terminology here.
Yes, you are.
Good. Thank you. I genuinely struggle to imagine what sex would be like with Nick. Like, I completely get why Jackie thought he was still a virgin. Nick has the charisma of a sack of potatoes with no potatoes in it. He scored worse than the Lost Boys Nazi, because at least I can imagine Deacon being terrible at sex. But when I think of Nick having sex, I see what a vampire sees when it looks into a mirror. Nothing. Maybe he's ace? An ace vampire would be some pretty great representation, but it wouldn't make me move him up the list.
My number 15, Officers O'Leary and Minogue. I don't think I have time to fuck these two. Honestly, I didn't even have time to watch their show. I just started an OnlyFans, onlyfans.com/MeganBob, which means my tits are now too expensive and frankly too tired to whip out for Wellington's averagest. Yeah, I could let Minogue fumblingly come in my eye while we both bask in O'Leary's queer regard, but I'm pretty sure, despite doing zero research, that my time would be better spent on onlyfans.com/MeganBob, where I can make lots of awkward guys and queer girls come at a fraction of the cost in time and facial wipes. And look, should I have done my homework about these two? Sure, obviously I should have. But it says something about them that I didn't even finish thinking about sex with them, because my pussy got distracted by my OnlyFans at onlyfans.com/MeganBob. All right. Kris, you're number 15.
My number 15 is Deacon Brooke. The erotic dancing scene in the film cemented Deacon's place on this list, and only the exceptionally draggy drags in this foul bottle save him from the bottom spot. There is very little more miserable for everyone in a sexual encounter than someone who thinks he's being sexy and isn't. Now, some people believe or pretend that they have these great erotic gifts, but what they actually have to offer is more unconventionally attractive. What Deacon has to offer is being an ignorant, jealous, lazy, selfish, literally filthy Nazi. I'm aware that tastes vary, but if this is your type, why not fuck an embarrassing, crusty dumbass who didn't work for Hitler?
On to number 16. Dan, you're number 16.
My number 16 is Nick. Nick is, he's just like a guy. He's not a particularly interesting guy. He never approaches anything in the movie with an energy level of more than like a 3 out of 10. He runs for his life with less frantic haste than I draw upon when I am running late to a dentist appointment. He just doesn't have a lot of oomph in him, and I struggle to believe that he would bring a lot of energy or creativity or enthusiasm to any kind of sexual encounter.
That's tough. Kris, you're number 16.
My number 16 is Anton. The big thing we know about Anton is that he hates it when people swear. No, he fucking doesn't. He craves it. Correcting people's behavior is his second favorite thing, second only to being the bigger man in the face of justifiable hostility. Here's how I think the sex would go. I would curtly nod to him without making eye contact, get out of his presence as soon as possible, and make sure he never had an opportunity to ask me to do anything. That's how you survive a bad PE teacher, and that's how you survive the affection of a lowercase alpha.
Oh, yikes. Kit, you're number 16.
Sean Rinaldi. Sorry. I mean, I like him, but I think Nadja put it best. He's a boiled potato. The starch content is surprisingly high on this list.
I was going to say, yeah.
Tough but fair. All right, my number 16, Baron Afanaz and the Sire. I mean, look, some threesomes, you're just there to pet the dog. I don't think they need me there for anything. They're genuinely happy in their little domestic setup, and I get the feeling that anything sexy I did to involve myself in it would be seen as annoying, and not in a cute way. Really, what I can do that would add just a ton to their sex life is to make sure while they're fucking, I take a lot of pictures of Aspen and send them to their phones to enjoy after they get off. And look, if you do not know anything about my work as a dog photographer, they will definitely keep me on speed dial. This is it. We're at the bottom, 6 feet under, the very bottom, number 17. Kit, who's the worst potato?
Oh, we can't insult potatoes like this.
Oh no! Oh no!
Big feels. Even if it seems so obvious, Colin Robinson.
Oh, okay.
I don't believe that to Colin Robinson, sex feels anywhere near as good as draining someone. And he especially loves draining the energy produced during awkward, uncomfortable moments. So can you imagine the energy draining potential of a sexual situation going just terribly for you? Because there is no fucking way that Colin Robinson is going to be able to resist that. Maybe this is the most basic, predictable nadir I could have possibly chosen, but insert overused Maya Angelou quote here.
My number 17 is also Colin Robinson. It's also big feels. Colin Robinson isn't losing hard choices, he's winning a different game. What Colin Robinson wants is to cause grief, strife, frustration, and boredom. And you'll notice that he doesn't do it by running people down in his car or poisoning people's dogs or whatever. He doesn't kill you or even break you, he drains you. This is the worst kind of person you can be in a sexual relationship with, because it's not going to be a one-time disaster. This is going to be 20 minutes under a hydraulic press set to excruciate. It will be a YouTube compilation of painful skate trick fails, played all the way through at 1/4 speed.
Oh, no!
Every time you fuck Colin Robinson, you will die a little bit, but you'll have enough left to stagger back into bed with him the next time he emotionally corners you into sex that blurs the line between indifference and loathing. Colin Robinson could give you the worst fuck of your life once a week for a decade, and that's not even including the leverage that sexual relationship would give him to drag you through every variety of miserable experience during all the downtime when he's not making you wish you had the excuse of impotence. And the worst part is that he loves it. This is why he's fucking you. His aim is to emotionally coerce you into grudgingly tolerating him, and he is a master marksman. Some people want to feel like wolves when they fuck. Some people want to feel like sheep, but nobody wants to feel like a gut-shot deer. And that's why Colin Robinson will settle for nothing less. If this ranking were about who will enjoy fucking you the most, Colin might win. And that is horrifying.
Ooh. Oh.
Carve that into freaking stone. That was excellent.
No, thank you.
Yeah. All right. My number 17 is Nick. I fucked guys who thought they were better than me. It was easier than using a dildo. But also, dildos don't want to talk to you about their favorite crypto YouTuber. Some things are worth the price of a sore arm. All right. Dan, you're number 17.
My number 17 is Deacon Brooke. There's something appealing in the core concept of the vampire fuck. It's not unique to the vampire fuck. Like, we've seen this when we've talked about dragons or supervillains or any number of other, powerful but morally dubious characters on this show. You know, it's the idea of this powerful being who sees dominating you sexually as an expression of their superiority. Now, Deacon wants to be that. In fact, he thinks that he's that, but he's not. Deacon is petulant, demanding, and has no idea how to deal with or understand the emotions of other people. his idea of his own competence is tremendously overblown and not at all reflective of his actual performance. And I do not want this cold pile of canned paschetti of a fuck, no matter how erotic his interpretive dance beforehand is. I almost accidentally said it correctly, and that would have been very embarrassing.
Oh, paschetti. That is one of the best jokes of the fucking film.
That's one that you write and you're so mad that it's the best joke in the scene.
Yes, absolutely.
And now we go to the top half of our list, and hopefully some much more delicious and fuckable vampires. And we start with number 8. All right, big mea culpa here. I'm going to get in there. Deacon. Not going to lie. The dancing worked on me. Also, I totally thought that he stopped being a Nazi at some point. I do apologize. I did not realize he was a practicing Nazi.
I
mean, you're right.
Doesn't
you're
matter.
Right. I thought maybe he had a change of heart off screen. But I was like, yeah, he fucks and it's good. He also knits. That's cute. But the way he treats Jackie, it's going to be fundamentally selfish, thoughtless. It's not that you can't, you can't get a good fuck out of that person. You can. But it's not dissimilar to promising yourself that you weren't going to eat onion rings that you left out overnight, which is the only way to deal with onion rings. Because they're not going to be as good. Correct. They're not as good. But they're still good enough that you eat all of them. And that's such a fucking mixed bag. Look, this is just a PSA. Anyone out there? Love yourself enough to eat fresh onion rings. Kit, you're number 8.
Jackie.
Yeah.
This woman is nothing if not extremely motivated. If she wants to please me, I will be pleased. Granted, I think the only reason she's into me is because she misunderstood me when I said I was Romanian. So shit's gonna get awkward unless I can get one of the vamps on this list to turn me. Where's Peter?
Dan, you're number 8.
My number 8 is Nandor. The dude had 3 dozen wives of all genders back when he was alive, and then he's been a world-traveling pansexual for over 700 years after that. Clearly his experience is beyond reproach. I still don't think he's actually anything amazing, though. He's a little too moody. He's a little too, easily discouraged, They call him the Relentless, but I think that, maybe there were some, big sarcastic quotes around that when they gave him that title, because, he relents pretty easily under most circumstances. So, it's one of those cases where, if things go well, it's going to be great. But if they go badly, it's kind of going to be a disaster.
All right. Kris, you're number 8.
My number 8 is Stu. There's kind of a big stretch of regular dudes in the middle of my list. We talked about most of them at the bottom of the list. Stu takes the top spot among the regular dudes. He would seem to be, on balance, the best regular dude. Still regular, though, but premium regular. Like a quarter pounder with cheese. If we gotta eat at McDonald's, he'd be on my short list. But guess what? There's a fucking Popeyes across the street.
Yeah.
And that Popeyes is vampires.
Oh, man. Popeyes is so much better than 90% of fast food. Okay, on to number 7. Kris, you're number 7.
My number 7 is Guillermo de la Cruz. Guillermo is one of those tragic people who are always struggling to keep their best impulses in check. I feel like Guillermo's going to start to fuck you real good and then catch himself and go back to being a nice Catholic boy. But no matter how many chocolate-covered espresso beans you eat, you can't keep your guard up forever. Eventually, Guillermo's going to slip, and all that passion that he normally sublimates into housework is going to flood into powerful, authentic sex with someone he cares about. When he regains himself, he's going to go back to being a nice Catholic boy, of course, but that's not so bad. He's cute. Basically, I think Guillermo's going to give you the occasional breakthrough passionate night with long stretches of inhibited shy fucks in between, but it's a pleasant enough wait that you won't mind. Honestly, and this is a relationship thing, not a sex thing, I'm not sure I'd pick a partner who fucks me like an animal every night of the week over one who fucks like an animal on weekends and loads the dishwasher instead on weeknights. For our purposes here, though, that's a 7.
Welcome to your 40s, sir.
All right, Dan, you're number 7.
My number 7 is Peter. The whole time you're undressing him, he's stock still, just staring at you with those large eyes, his crooked fangs protruding out over his lips. You start to go down on him. His dick responds, but the rest of his body does not.
Oh.
You're starting to honestly wonder if you've accidentally hooked up with a literal corpse for the evening, when suddenly he pounces, moving like lightning, pinning you down and staring into your eyes as he fucks you like an animal.
Ooh.
The whole time, he doesn't say a single word. Is it a good fuck? Maybe. It's a wild ride for fucking sure.
Oh, hey, there's Peter. That's my number 7.
Mm-hmm.
Besides the fact that he's the second most monster fuckiest vampire on this list, he is, statistically speaking, out of all the other vampires, the most likely to turn me into a vampire. What is it gonna take? Strapping chickens to myself? Licking that fucked up grill of his? I'll do it! I'm not gonna wuss out like Guillermo. I'm a Jackie. Let's fucking go!
All right, my number 7 is also Peter.
Wow.
Hey.
Galaxy brain. He doesn't have any kind of conventional genitals anymore, but he does get super like whatever off of someone playing with those huge fucking ears. I think there's nothing here in terms of fuck on the scale that we would usually employ, but like watching someone get off while you just absolutely lavish a specific part of them with attention, that's a good fucking time. On to number 6. Let's see if we line up again. Kit, you're number 6.
Derek. So he might be too much of a dweeb even for me? But, okay, by the way, I'm just going to pick Vampire Era Derek for this because it's the one I would most likely hook up with, and the real reason is I'm pretty sure I can get him to turn me into a vampire, and he's way less likely to kill me than Peter. So... still gold digging, but for a different kind of gold. The gold of immortality.
All right. Kris, you're number 6.
My number 6 is Nadja. And I can't even believe I'm saying that. This is big feels. I mean, it's long, so I guess it's big feels. She loves to fuck. She was reduced to tears by horniness when Laszlo ran off to be Jackie Daytona for a while. She's into Baron Afanas in a big way. In the same episode as the Jackie Daytona thing, she's clearly up for sexy roleplay with her husband of many, many years. She's a romantic, but she's also up for weird stuff. And she's not the jealous type about Laszlo enjoying other flavors from what she has to offer, which seems to be a crucial asset for vampire couples, as for podcast couples. She does fuck. She can fuck. She loves to fuck. She fucks across the whole spectrum. And she's crazy hot and has mystical hypnosis powers. What makes her number 6, aside from the ridiculously stacked top 5 in this franchise, is the way she shrugged at the vampire orgy. I once had somebody suggest that I was demisexual, and I kind of saw where they were coming from, but as I told them, while the way I relate to people sexually is very personal and intimate and intense, it's not like I'm picky. Like, there's something I'm thirsty for in almost everyone, whether or not I'm going to do anything about it. I feel like that's what Nadja's lacking. It seems like she wants sex for a narrow range of motivations that are specific to her important relationships, and she's just not very excited about sex outside of those relationships. I don't think that if we're into each other, it necessarily means we're in love. And if we're not in love, and like deeply explosively in love, she's not going to have that intensely fucky energy toward me that we see toward Laszlo. She could be the number 1 on another list, but the fact that I don't think I'd get the best version of her narrowly keeps her out of this extremely competitive top 5.
First appearance of Nadja on the list.
Yeah,
Yep.
There's still 2 more who haven't shown up yet, so that's
Ooh.
exciting.
Okay. All right, my number 6 is Jackie. Honestly, she seems like a ton of fun. I mean, to me, she seems like someone who just needs permission to be her fullest self. And while who that is not necessarily a good person, definitely a person who fucks. As someone who recognizes a fellow grab what you want with both hands type, I know she's going to grind on my dick and let me take pictures of her doing it. I am not going to want to keep that number, but I am damn sure going to keep those pictures. All right, Dan, your number 6.
My number 6 is Officers O'Leary and Minogue.
All right.
Wow.
This is one fuck where the floor is very low and the ceiling is very high. If you have watched Wellington Paranormal, you know that these two can be faced with the wildest, weirdest shit imaginable and approach it with a, frankly, astounding degree of cool-headed, low-key matter-of-factness. Like, it's still just the job, even if it involves, like, haunted dolls and a portal to the void or a ghost car or an army of robots that are all made out of cell phones. Like, so what you need to do is just present these two with your wildest pie-in-the-sky fuck ideas, your craziest fantasies, your kinkiest scenes. Minogue might whine about it a little bit, but before long, like, they're both just going to be locked in, giving you a workmanlike but entirely efficient and cooperative take on anything you could possibly imagine.
That's handy to have. Okay. Oh, is this going to come up in Let's Unpack That? Okay, moving on to number 5. I'm going to start off because I have big feels. Nandor the Relentless. He's an evil himbo. We do see him fuck on the show. He fucks like a jackhammer. It's hot. What's a lot hotter is that he goes around in a t-shirt with his dick hanging out. Like, that was hot. He's so excited to be with the people he wants to be with. What's a lot more compelling with Nandor is that he's largely shameless in a clueless way, which is very distinctive. He would bend me over at the kitchen table and fuck me in front of the household, and I'd be getting like a close-up of the tablecloth when someone walked by and just be like, "Hi, Colin. I hope your day's been good." Nandor wouldn't even be trying to rub it in anyone's face or anything. Like, he really just wanted pussy and there was no reason to wait. You know what they say? You can take the conqueror out of the bedroom, but he's just gonna fuck you in a different room. Dan, you're number 5.
My number 5, first time this character's appeared, Vladislav the Poker.
Heyo.
Of the vampire roommates from the movie, he seems like he's clearly the most fuckable, like, given that the first time we see him in the film, he's in the middle of, like, a weird psychosexual orgy on the wall of his bedroom. He does have some, like, pretty outdated socio-political ideas, though. You know, like, casually suggesting that maybe they should just get some slaves to clean up. So, like, I don't think he's going to be especially interested in exploring sex outside of, like, you know, he's the dom, you're the sub, end of story. But, like, you're going to get an extremely good, kind of weird version of, like, that very specific flavor.
Kris, you're number 5.
My number 5 is also Vladislav the Poker. As Dan mentioned, when we meet Vladislav, he is suspended vertically in midair, having group sex, and he pretty much sustains that energy throughout the film. He's got his insecurities, his insensitivities, but everything about him, from his hair to his clothes to his voice to the aforementioned midair group sex, screams big Drac energy. As for what it would be like, I think it would be the most straightforward, Dracula-style fantasy vampire fuck on this list. He's going to give you a million intense and utterly predictable orgasms, which is predictable.
Okay.
But there's a reason they're still selling magic wands.
All right, Kit, you're number 5.
Big feels. Complicated feels, because it's Anton.
Oh, good
Look.
for you.
Look, I am who I am. And there's only so low a werewolf's gonna land on my list. I'm still trying to manifest an Oops All Werewolves episode. Not by, like, asking Bob or anything productive like that, mostly just a wooing softly to every full moon. But anyway, it really pains me to put a werewolf this low, but my dude is an alpha, which means I'm gonna have to constantly reinforce his fragile ego. oh wow, your knot is so girthy. Is it all gonna fit? Unless he's the ultimate brat bait.
Ooh.
He's fucking asking to be bratted, right? Because he's not actually gonna hurt me. I don't think this dad of a werewolf's got it in him. So brat away. Brat him until he starts wolfing out and ruins his genes. He ain't gonna need those anyway.
Ooh.
Also, Kit, he'll probably turn you into a werewolf.
I will take it.
All right, on to number 4. Kris, you're number 4.
My number 4 is Jackie. I love a vampire. I love the dark mystique, but what I fucking love is a woman who knows what she fucking wants. To be honest, I was watching the film looking for sexiness and coming up mostly empty, except notionally. And the first thing I really felt was Jackie getting pissed at Deacon and all the other vampires, and also the whole patriarchy because they were standing between her and the dream/curse she was promised. Jackie is not a born sub like a lot of familiars. Jackie is a woman who is willing to get on her hands and knees or fuck someone over to get what she's after. In other words, she can take the dick or she can take the dick, and I am into both.
Dan, you're number 4.
That's a good phrase.
My number 4 is the guide. I'm honestly pretty surprised with like how well she performed here, but you can't deny the facts. Like, she's a long-lived being with great supernatural abilities, but she's also like socially awkward and starved for affection. Like, if there's some mutual attraction between the two of you, she's gonna like glom onto you, spend every available opportunity trying out new exciting things with you, possibly involving her weird like teleporting / being in multiple places at once thing that she does. She's not experienced, which is the only reason that she's not higher for me, but like the potential for her once she actually gets some experience under her belt is stratospheric.
All right, my number 4 is Nadja. She's exceptional. I will say she's not really fully my thing because she's so chaotic, and I don't tend to adore that, but I would love to have a threesome with her. Like, we both go to suck the same dick and then start making out, and then it turns into a weird sex fight where we're trying to like finger one another for dominance, which would be hot even if I lose. And I will definitely lose.
Don't sell yourself short. I mean,
oh, thanks, baby. All right, Kit, you're number 4.
Vladislav the Poker. Easily the most attractive of the New Zealand vampire flatmates, and honestly, hotter than Vlad the Impaler, the real deal. Okay. But Jermaine Clement is an attractive guy even when his face is on a cat's body, so maybe cheating a little bit. Vladislav is not as naive, recalcitrant, or immature as his flatmates, and as Dan and Kris has said, we do get a small glimpse of a vampire orgy happening in his room, implying to me that he fucks way more than the others. Unfortunately, outside of pain play, I don't see him doing anything too exciting. I'm really not into pain play. I don't want to get poked. Unless it's by dick.
All right. I will start off with my number 3 because my number 3 is Vladislav the Poker. And this is Big Feels. The secret is that he truly does get emotionally wrecked by his ex and is still in that state when I find him. My pussy is magical, but is it magical enough to give Vladislav his groove back? Don't fight me in my own kingdom, bitch. It's not just that he's a fucking hedonist. It's that he's whimsical. He's emotional. He's quirky. Did you see him taking selfies whenever he discovers the joy of having a camera, including sexy selfies? All of that, but with the sexual voraciousness of a hedonist. I think the sex is full of deeply fucked up abandon where you just give yourselves over to the feeling of like sweat-slicked bodies and desperation. I don't know if you've ever come so hard that you had to take the rest of the day off because you basically felt drunk. That is what you can have with someone who has that emotional capacity to invest to the point of being at stake in the relationship. And to have that with a whimsical hedonist. Fuck me. Sure. Like, of course I want the fuck of a lifetime, but it hits different to have it with someone who would fuck you while you both wear Burger King crowns. All right. Kit, you're number 3.
Laszlo Cravensworth.
First time appearing on the list.
Yeah. I guess. Sorry for putting the lowest, I guess. The nymphomaniac vampire. Down for anything. That always goes a long way. And the chances of getting to have a threesome with Nadja are pretty high. The coffins are rocking. Please come a knocking.
Dan, you're number 3.
My number 3 is Baronofinus and the Sire.
Okay.
Wow. It's Doug Jones, ain't it?
Yeah, him in that little car, man,
You are-
really did something for me. Now, either of them on their own, I think would be pretty good. But the two of them at the same time is the wildest shit imaginable. It's like getting fucked by Dracula and the Wolfman at the same time. Like, you would be alternating between the Baron's slow but relentless pace and then the Sire's, like, wild, rabid, animalistic hunger. If you can keep up, it's going to be unforgettable.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to take a note here. I'll take a note.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Kris, you're number 3.
My number 3 is the guide. The guide is constantly holding back big, weird, intense, chaotic emotions purely because she's at work. So in a way, it's not fair to put her up against the other vampires because they're largely leading the existence they choose. We see them having quite a bit of sex and they're basically having like the sex they're gonna have, the sex they choose. Who the fuck knows what the guide wants or is capable of when she cuts loose? I don't, but my sense is, and I implore you to imagine the scene in the show. If you got her drunk and asked her what's the craziest shit she'd ever done, she would tell you a story that would put Vlad and Laszlo to shame, and she'd be giggling all through it. That's what I want.
Oh, man.
Damn.
All right. Well, on to number 2. And this is big feels for me. Because mine's the guide.
Wow.
I'm with you, baby. She fucks. Like, she definitely fucks.
Yeah.
I'm sure it could be awkward, but it's hungry. I, too, have been the one trying to hold something together that could potentially be a shit show. Let me once again beat the drum of stage managers. Fuck. The guide also fucks like someone who is cruising for the most insane lay of her life. As a vampire, I don't think you fuck Van Helsing if you feel like, what else am I doing with my Tuesday? No, it's the sex of someone who is on the clock when she's on the clock and cuts all the way loose when she's off the clock. She's going to come back from work and we go out to a bar together. And after one half of one drink, she's taken her bra off under her shirt, swinging it around like she's going to lasso me with it while screaming, "My pussy loves you! Lick my pussy! Lick it right now!" And that's a very compelling argument. All right. Kit, you're number 2.
Nadja of Antipaxos.
Yeah.
Almost as much of a nympho as her husband. Nadja has some standards, but you better have a degradation kink and maybe a bit of a death wish because Nadja gives out insults and threats like there's a 2-for-1 special. And the way she does it, I am obsessed. I might not leave alive or a vampire, but worth.
My number 2 is also Nadja.
Aw.
Open marriage or no, anyone who can sexually satisfy Laszlo long-term should be on the Mount Rushmore of fuckability.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Kris mentioned it. Laszlo disappears for a couple of days in the episode On the Run, and as soon as he gets back, the first thing that Nadja cries out as she sprints toward him is, "I'm so horny!" Like, she's trying to have a conversation with Guillermo in a cheap motel room in the episode Exit Interview, but there's like a couple next door having obnoxiously loud sex. She gets so irritated that she goes next door to join them. Like, she is constantly deeply horny, but she's also smart and empathetic. She's confident without being arrogant. She's just awkward enough to be kind of adorable. Like, she's not just great, and I'm positive she's great in bed.
Aw. Kris, you're number 2.
My number 2, Laszlo. I would never have guessed he would end up at number 2. He is everything. And he's into anything, so I could say anything. So it was a struggle to put a fine point on this. So I'm gonna try it with an anecdote. All right. So one time, partner and I ordered sandwiches from a place we never tried before. I don't know if it was like circumstantial, like the phase of the moon or whatever, or just the fucking excellence of these sandwiches, but they were incredible. We split all the sandwiches. Of course, we didn't order just 2. Are we fucking Puritans? Are we fucking cowards? We ordered a lot of sandwiches. We split all the sandwiches, enjoying them with deeper delectation until it started to feel like honest-to-God debauchery. So that when we remembered that unexpected synesthetic food orgy later, we'd say to each other, first as a joke and then later just earnestly, remember when we fucked those sandwiches? I could fuck a sandwich with Laszlo. Well, he's a vampire, so I guess I would be the sandwich. But he and Nadja could fuck me together, and I'd be happy for them.
I think that's really what we're all coming away from this episode with, just being like, man, to be the third in that relationship.
Mm-hmm. There should be a podcast about
that. Yeah.
All right. This is it. Our number ones. Kit, your number 1. The vampire you want to fuck the most.
Oh, it's not a vampire. You know me. It's a werewolf, baby.
Oh!
It's Stu.
Oh my God, this is precious.
Everyone in the film loves this very soft boy. And I get it. Such a nice, breedable boy. But one night a month, he does the breeding. Oh, woo. Wait. Or maybe not? Maybe he's still a sub as a werewolf? Now that's a flavor I didn't know I wanted, but now I need it. How can anyone with a pulse not want to rail a werewolf after he just fixed your printer?
Yeah. Man, fuck printers.
Yeah.
Okay, Dan, you're number 1.
Big feels for maybe the least surprising take this show has ever seen. My number 1 is Laszlo.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you even start with this guy? Like, he was one of history's first porn stars. A horse once, quote, started making love to him, and he was very into it. Like, his ghost jerked off another ghost so well that it left the room covered in ectoplasm. When he enters a near-depressive state and barely responds to any sort of external stimuli during season 5, Nadja complains that they're down to having sex only 16 times a week, while Nandor complains that he and Laszlo are down to only 3 times a week. Now, obviously, quality is not the same as quantity, but it's clear to me that sex is something that Laszlo values and takes seriously. And if he's been having sex at least 19 times a week for centuries, I struggle to imagine that he hasn't gotten impossibly good at it. As he says, he became a vampire to suck blood and fuck forever. It must be my birthday.
Also, Matt Berry's voice.
Voice alone.
Yeah, I love Matt Berry. Okay, my number 1 is also Laszlo. I want this man to sexually exhaust me. I don't know that he can do it, but I truly think he might be able to. He's going to be able to get into my genders plural because he is hot for everything. If I roll up as a guy, he's going to be thrilled to suck my dick. If I roll up as a girl, he's going to be thrilled to fuck me and then take me out somewhere nice, cum still dripping down my thighs. And if I roll up as an NB, he's going to be thrilled to eat me out until I scream and then go halfsies on a delivery guy together. I can eat the food, he can eat the delivery guy. He's so fucking romantic, but also filthy. He's going to look over at me and say, "My darling, you look radiant with cum on your face." And goddamn, someone basking in your sexual excess is a rare fucking treat. Baby, if you're listening, I'm going to leave my window cracked tonight. You come find me. Okay, Kris, you're number 1.
Number 1, Nandor the Relentless. So unself-conscious. I am going to see this man's ass. If he ever can't get it up, which I find unlikely, he's not going to quit. He's not going to prevaricate. He's going to enlist me, and we're going to do a fucking project together. We're going to be annoyed at his dick together. Nandor is going to fuck me so hard and check in so often that I'm going to start yelling at him to just shut up, and it's going to hurt his feelings, but not enough for him to stop fucking me. Perfect. And he's sensitive, and he's both selfish and noble. There's an episode where a bunch of people gather around and look at Nandor's dick while he's supposedly slumbering, and they come to the conclusion that its reputation is overstated. Maybe because he's a grower and not a shower, they speculate. No, it's because to judge a dick, you have to see what it does. And do you know what Nandor's dick does? Not relent.
That's it. We fucked all these vampires. Congratulations to us.
Mhm.
And werewolves.
And werewolves.
I
That's true.
fucked the werewolves
All
real
right,
good.
we're covered in cum, we're covered in blood. But now we must go to the part of the show where we turn to each other and say, "What the fuck, man?" In our segment, let's unpack that. We were kind of circling around it. Top threesome pick. I mean, obviously all of us want to get in on, Nadja and Laszlo.
Yeah.
Like, none of us are stupid. But if you're bringing in somebody, who are you bringing in?
Like if you're in a couple, like which of these characters do you bring in as a third? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
And Nadja.
Yeah.
Nadja would be a great choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know both Dan and I would appreciate Nadja.
I mean, you're not wrong.
So,
on setting my hard choices glasses aside for a second,
Yeah.
that's the obvious
Yeah.
one.
It's hard. It changes the calculation a lot because like I love Nandor, but the thing about Nandor is like
Yeah.
I want to get fully into his deal. Like I want to do like it wouldn't. I mean, no offense, Bob, but like it wouldn't be fun to sit around
No.
like you and me and like stare at Nandor's dick trying to get it to work. You know what I mean? That's a couple thing. That's for
Yeah.
two people.
Oh, yeah.
So like I don't. Yeah, it's very different. You don't want that like shamelessness that you were talking about.
Yeah, it's interesting with Nandor because, like, even though he's canonically had multiple wives at one time, I don't see him as being like an orgy guy.
No.
Like, I feel like even if he had multiple wives, he's like dealing with them one at a time.
Oh, no,
You know
I
what I
do.
mean?
I just think that, like, it was way back then. I don't think those people necessarily, like, consented to being married to him. You know what I mean? He's a warlord. So I think they would just happen to be married to him for warlord reasons. But some of them liked him.
He said he was in love with a bunch of them, and I believe him. I believe in Nandor's assessment of like being in love. It might have been a fucked up relationship like it is with Guillermo, but yeah, I don't know.
I feel like the guide.
Yes.
Oh my God.
There you go, yeah.
Simpatico.
What's great about that is like she's going to be doing her own thing. Like she's there for her own reasons, and she's gonna make her own fun. Like not that you're gonna force her to do that or even necessarily let her do that, but like not having to worry. Like this person's gonna have a good time. They're gonna like take the initiative to do what they enjoy.
Yeah.
And also she seems like she has enough personality to like kind of take two people with her. Cause like, if you're doing a threesome and it's like you're kind of going around like everybody's taking turns, like being the person who's kind of like paid attention to, then I feel like it can be hard for one person to take the two other people with them on something, but the guide could do that. She's got like all this experience. Yeah, she's a great pick.
Yeah. And like, that whatever she's doing, like however it's going, you're going to end up as like one of her stories, which is like, that's a good feeling to know that like, oh, she's taking us on an experience that like is going to end up in kind of like the stories that she tells whenever she's like cutting loose.
Dark horse pick here, but I got to say Guillermo is so shy.
Oh.
And also Guillermo loves to take care of people.
Focusing on him would watching him blush you're winning me over with this now.
That would be huge. And also like just the unselfishness, he would really ease the social situation because he's like monitoring everybody, like taking care of everybody, making sure everybody gets what they need. And so then, yeah, it would be really fun to like turn it around on him at some point and like let it be his turn. Yeah.
He is kind of the ultimate third in that way. He's very eager to please, but also responds well to like validation. So yeah, he's a little bit of like a like a monkey wrench or a skeleton key, just like kind of an all-purpose third, I guess.
Yeah, he's like a studio musician for your threesome.
Yeah, there you go.
Big third energy. Okay. This is a little mini episode of a podcast that is coming later on.
Oh.
Okay. The floor is open. Ask away, everybody.
Well, I guess I'll start by attacking everyone who isn't Kris. Colin Robinson? Not at the bottom? What?
You're right. I mean, I guess I can probably do what Dan was selling me on. Like, that's a horrible... maybe I can't. Maybe Colin Robinson is like a million times better at that kind of thing than I would ever be able to be in terms of like going, no, it's fascinating. I'd love to know more.
Bob, you get drained so easily. As
true.
An extrovert who has been around you.
I know, I do love a nap.
Be so careful with you.
Oh, thank you. I don't know. Like, did you see that episode with the siren?
I've seen all of them, but I believe
Okay.
I remember which one you mentioned.
Okay, so the siren's that like kind of Jersey girl, kind of like dirty, big chicken ass.
Yes.
One, she was fucking hot and would have ranked unbelievably highly for me had we been including like little rando characters. But also the fact that afterwards Colin was like still hot for her and was like tells him to get out because he and directly says like and uses the phrase I'm gonna beat off, which is like, oh my god, that is an appalling phrase and I do hate it, but also I was like, there's something about so Colin has a sexuality and does engage it also from a somewhat conventional place. And like kind of got into this like reprehensible in some ways character. And I was like, okay, like there's something there. Like there's traction. You have a sexuality that is like responds to something. There's a way in for me. I can be interested in what your deal is.
That is a dangerous fuck for you, Bob. That's the dynamics. It's very hard to predict what's going to happen there. Cause like, it's
well, okay. Don't let me. I won't.
Yeah, well, he's definitely not allowed. Like he is right out for the threesome for sure.
Okay,
but like, yeah, I feel like because you're right, he's not unbeatable. Like there are situations where there's somebody he just like can't really get a grip on and can't like get anything from them. But then sometimes he really gets his hooks into somebody. So I don't know, you're gonna get enough from Colin to be worth the disaster that it could be. But no,
right?
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, I feel as though he could be a good third for a couple that was like kind of struggling with the minutia of maintaining a long-term relationship. Because if you bring him in and then you let him go, you suddenly recontextualize every problem that you've been having with the other person.
Wow.
And they're like, oh, I forgot how completely shitty other people can be who are not my partner. So thank you, baby. I'm sorry I ever doubted you. Colin Robinson has reminded me how much worse it could be. Our relationship is saved,
Dan, you're really eliding the question here of who the fuck invited Colin.
I mean, I don't know that that's necessarily pertinent. We were asking about who's the best in a threesome. I don't think Colin's the best, not for everyone, but I'm saying he has his uses. How he gets there, that's outside the bounds of the question as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, Kit looks so disappointed. I love this. You're not wrong that any brush with Colin Robinson of any kind would completely recontextualize how you felt about like your partner and indeed any past partners you have ever had in your life.
Yeah.
So it really like whenever you experience a new nadir, it really does like you're like, oh, my scale has changed now.
Yeah,
that's
it reframes a lot of things. Like a lot of things start making a little more sense in the aftermath of a Colin Robinson.
Yeah. Anybody who's an outlier for casuals. Yeah, they're always like reset how you're gonna measure things, and that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes you get so like locked into like the day-to-day of your own world that you kind of like lose perspective.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
good to experience an extreme once in a while.
What a this thought pattern. This could only come from playing way too much fucking Dark Souls. Let me just hurt myself so that I understand what it's like to not be in pain.
I
God.
mean, you can have somebody put you off sex for a while, you know? That might happen with Colin. It might like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you've ever had this experience of a time in your life when you're just like, I don't know if this is worth it. I don't know if I'm really interested. It's like you played too much Civ. At a certain point, it's like, you know, it's fun for a while. You get like the steam ships and everything, and then people start invading. At a certain point, it's like, I don't even want to fucking rule the world anymore.
Hard. Fuck it.
Anybody else?
I don't know that this goes to his fuckability, but I'm just really curious, Kit, with the scenario that you portrayed. If Anton turns you into a werewolf, then what? For this, whatever it is you've got going on with him.
Oh, that's a good point.
Oh. I mean, well, if we're mates, I am the more feminine one and probably more in charge.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, comparing our personalities, I would be in charge of Anton.
Yeah, you definitely would be.
He is nothing compared to me. He's all show, all heckles raised. Yeah, whatever. Puh, hit him in the face. Shut up. And he would like it.
Boy, tell you what, he would try to tell you it's werewolves, not werewolves once, and you would throw his ass in a river.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab his little snoot and rub it right in the pussy, and he's gonna like it.
Probably.
Dominance.
Probably a lot.
Yeah. He just really seems like the type where he's waiting to be dominated. He's waiting to find someone who isn't one of his geek squad.
Yeah.
I feel like you might have a waiting period on that one. I feel like this is a guy who you're gonna like put him in his place once, and it's gonna be like Spider-Man No More for a minute, and then he's gonna come crawling back. And he's like, actually, no, I liked it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, bitch. Yeah, you did.
Is what Kit says immediately.
Uh-huh.
Back up.
Yeah, put the tail between the legs right now. Show me the belly.
The alphaist. Kit's not as the hugest not.
As a werewolf, who knows? I mean, that's the magic of rolling the dice, right?
It's true. All right, anybody else? Because I got 2 other questions.
Oh, shit.
Nah, go for it.
Okay. All right. Dan. Baronofinaz. You're not into lower bodies?
He gets it back.
Yeah,
Oh, he does.
he's not a torso forever.
Yeah, I know.
He starts off as a Nosferatu, and by the end of season, I think 5, like he just looks like looks like Doug Jones with a wig. Like
it's very fancy dress.
Like understandably, I think his most memorable stuff is when he's like essentially a torso, an arm, and a head. But like Hard Choices is about like the energy that people bring, and so I'm trying to like meet him at what I think is his most representative, you know? And I'm just like, he's like an old school vampire, you know? He's a little bit Nosferatu, he's a little bit Dracula, and it's just, and like, I think if he wants to fuck you, I think it's going to be pretty good, you know?
Oh, you know, you made me realize, I think they were kind of going for that Gary Oldman Dracula energy, where you see the fancy and the like.
Yeah. I think you might be right. He definitely dresses like Gary Oldman Dracula when he gets his body back.
A weird thing about Baron Afanas is that usually when I'm on Hard Choices, I try to stick very closely to like if canonically the character fucks, then they fuck, right? Like if everybody says they fuck and we see them fuck, then they fuck. Sure, I really could not do that for Baron Afanas because the way everybody describes him is just like, it is so unappealing that I just have to account for like they're going to have different tastes. Like everybody seems really into him not having genitals at one stage.
Yeah.
And that in itself, like, it's like, you know, like if you don't have a dick, like if you have the dick of the heart, like it's fine. But he doesn't really. He doesn't emotionally even, he doesn't fuck right. It seems like a vampire thing, honestly. It seems like if I were a vampire, maybe I'd be into it. But no matter how hot someone is for him, when they describe sex with him, there's nothing for me.
I don't know, man. Laszlo and Nadja, they know way more about sex than I ever will. And like, if they vouch for him, I'm like, let's see what's going on. I am willing to, I'm willing to risk it. I'm willing to say like, they probably have a better idea of what they're talking about than I do.
No, man, this is going to be like when people try to get you into jazz.
Okay.
It's like, no, yeah, I mean, because you know a lot more about music.
That's great.
You're into it, but
all right, these are both valid reads.
I'm not even going to acknowledge the jazz, those jazz negativity. but that's for a different Let's Unpack.
Wait, do you love jazz, Kit?
I like jazz. I don't understand why people hate jazz because I've heard so much good jazz.
I don't hate jazz. It's that jazz is like one of those things. It's like cuisine is the same way, where it's like there's a fancy kind that's like, you know, you don't get it because like you don't understand it well enough. And I believe that.
Oh, like the little like rich people like tapas?
Yeah.
The little, yeah. Yeah. To itty bitty little rich people plates. Yeah, I get that. But I don't think jazz is that. But anyway, that's for another Let's Unpack. I have to get in on this. It's so weird that everyone thinks he fucks great, right? Why does everyone think the Baron fucks great? Maybe, and this could ruin everything, maybe being a vampire skews your perception of sex. Like, because it is very weird. Their opinions about what's like hot, who fucked great. I'm like, if we believe them, then wow, they're on some next level shit. But if we take it with a grain of salt, which is not their favorite thing, then I don't know. They're not human anymore. Something could be going on.
I ranked the Baron by far the highest out of everyone. But if I'm going along with this, if I'm playing devil's advocate to myself, I will acknowledge the possibility that the Baron, as a much older, much more powerful vampire, perhaps like did some mesmerism on the people he had sex with and was like, you had a terrific time with me. And then they just come back and like, they remember he didn't have any genitals and they remember having a really good time with him. And so it's like, you know, maybe that's the no prize that we're reaching for here.
Vampires, like, you know, canonically in the various mythos, like there's something about them that makes the people that they're interacting with, like, want to fuck them, want to be, like, drank on, almost enjoy it, depending on what you're doing. Like, in Dracula, when the brides are, like, approaching Jonathan, he's, like, horrified, but also, like, down. Right? And, like, maybe vampires are not immune to that from each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
It would kind of explain Nadja and Laszlo.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she did put some kind of whammy on him at the beginning, right? Canonically.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Or maybe he was always really horny. She sounded like she was always really horny even before she became a vampire.
Yeah.
Maybe people back then were really horny, and that's the only way the human race survived.
I mean, how else you gotta be to keep it up through the black.
I know you gotta outbreed a bunch of plagues. Yeah. So, you know, that takes some commitment.
Okay. My one last question is, I think this is for Kris. I should have specified. You think Vladislav's just like a predictable vampire fuck?
I agree.
You got to go with me on this.
Okay.
Once I was listening to an interview with Pat Patterson.
Okay.
And he was talking about why he was big into Dolph Ziggler.
Okay.
And he was saying it's not the acrobatics, because Dolph Ziggler is very athletic. It's the emotion. It's the selling. Because the rest is just, to quote Pat Patterson, yeah, da 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 da. I think you get a lot of that with Vladislav. But I don't think you get, like, the emotion. He might do some crazy shit with you, but, like, you're going to be up there in midair spinning around, and it's like, this is variations on a simple fuck, right? This is just, like, there's nothing here.
Okay.
Yeah, I got the same vibe. There was, like, yeah, he's very, like, sexy, but I am not getting much else besides the poking. Like, we didn't really see much else.
I don't know. I got some whimsy off of him, but I can see how, like, there's not a lot of whimsy.
I feel like you don't really get a lot of opportunities for, like, canonical whimsy on this show, Bob.
BYOW.
Yeah, exactly. Like it, and that's like such a big part of your brand.
Yes.
Is like a large amount of whimsy, but yeah, like most of the time you're bringing it. It's interesting to see you identify something like that in a different character. I don't really know, like, what other like high whimsy characters have you had cause to talk about on this show before? Not a lot.
Yeah, I can't even think of any.
It's a lot of like serious dudes with swords and stuff, you know?
Gonzo.
Gonzo, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Always going for those Muppets.
Yeah, I am.
Kris has a brand to maintain as well.
Listen, I ranked Pepe number 1 in that Medians episode, so I mean, I cannot fault your logic.
Correct. That's because the Muppet, that speaks very highly of the Muppets. Just such a fucky universe. More on the Muppets later on the Hard Choices feed.
Let's get it.
Okay, and now we get to the part of the show that's science.
Drum roll.
I turn you over to Dan to deliver our final and legally binding in Vampire Court aggregate rankings.
Absolutely. Bottom of the list, our number 17, despite the best efforts of me and Bob, is Colin Robinson.
That's fair.
Correct.
Objectively correct.
Yeah. I was gonna like high five Kid about this, but like this is very
what's even the point?
If anything, Kris and I are dragging these two idiots away.
That's
to
correct.
their own doom.
Yeah,
that is correct.
Those two should feel shame. We don't even really deserve any credit.
Nah. I feel nothing. Next up, number 16 is Nick. Number 15 is Deacon Brooke. Number 14, you hate to see it, Sean Rinaldi. Better luck next time, bud.
It's tough being a human. Just a human friend.
Number 13 is Anton.
Oh.
I'm probably correct.
We have a 3-way tie for number 12.
Oh.
With our two couples, Illyrian Minogue and Baron Ophinus and the Sire.
Okay.
With
Ooh.
Guillermo as the 5th.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So yeah, those are all crowding out number 12.
My God. Guillermo's gonna have to protect the officers.
Oh yeah, definitely.
From being chomped, because they have no idea.
At number 9, we have Peter.
Surprisingly high.
Pretty dang high.
So that makes Peter our median?
Peter is our median.
You know what?
Which is
but like such a classic vampire. Like, it
Yes.
makes sense.
All right, yeah, sure.
It's weird
Yeah.
that he's our median because directly above him at number 8 is Derek, who had 3 people name him as their median. And he didn't end up being the median because of Kit.
Oh.
Wow, incredible. All right.
Him and Peter. Look, the ones that are going to hook me up, right?
That's right. That's true. At number 7, we have Stu. Number 6 is Jackie. Number 5 is Nandor. Number 4 is The Guide. Number 3, this top 3 is the least surprising array I think I've ever seen on this show. Number 3 is Vladislav the Poker.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 is Nadja. Number 1 is Laszlo.
I mean,
The math checks out.
I could have called that as soon as we proposed this episode.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. But sometimes you get surprises. But sometimes the maths.
Yeah.
I would just like to say we polled the Hard Choices Discord server about who everyone thought would be the median, and the winner was Stu. Stu did just a little bit better, but y'all were pretty close.
Yeah, he's 2 slots above the median. I will say, Kit, if you had not ranked Stu number 1, there's a very good chance he would have been the median. He was real close.
Yeah. This is
It's that werewolf, man.
Maybe this should be thrown out. Werewolves George is an outlier and should not be counted.
Absolutely. Kit's the real Russian judge of these vampires.
Yeah, Russian Romanian, baby.
What do we think of the fuckability of what we do in the shadows overall? On a scale of 1 to 10 boners, how fuckable is the world of what we do in the shadows? Anyone may start whenever they feel called to give a number.
I'm going to give this a solid 5.
Okay.
And it's because, it goes back to what I said, I think a couple of times during this episode, the joke is that these vampires and werewolves and whatever are just normal people, right?
Mhm.
Like, when you set aside all the kind of like dark supernatural accoutrement, they're very recognizable people. And, you know, some people are really good in bed. Some people are absolutely terrible in bed. A lot of them are just pretty okay. And like, I feel like more than the vast majority of fictional properties we look at, this is just kind of a cross section of normal people.
Yeah.
I have the same conclusion from a different perspective. I'm going to say 5 too. And the reason is because like I think the top of this list is very strong, but the bottom also, like this is an unusually high number of characters to have at the bottom of the list who I really don't want to have anything to do with. And they're basically exactly counterbalanced. Like top 5 is killer for me. Bottom 5, characters I just have no interest in. And then my median is Derek, who I have no feelings about because he's so average. So like, I don't see how I can really rank this anything but a 5 because it's like, it is exactly like it is balanced on that point.
Yeah.
This is a 5 I'd feel very comfortable grading other franchises against.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was actually going to say even a 4.
Hmm.
But only the strength of like Laszlo and the guide really like made me go, okay, yeah, you can have a 5 for this. Because I mean, Laszlo is a source of horniness like in multiple episodes, apropos of nothing. So like doing a lot of work for the brand.
Mm-hmm.
I got to take that into consideration. So yeah, all right, a 5.
This is me being very generous.
I mean-
I'm going to give it a 4 as well.
Ooh.
Because I think the movie and show do a very good job of taking something that is normally depicted as very sexual and like making it a complete joke.
True. Man, we were very brave to fuck all these like just fuckable vampires. Like I think that was very
Yeah.
sexy and brave of us. These vampires should really be like talking about how fuckable we are, I think is the conclusion that we've come to. Like we are very cool for doing this.
Yeah.
And the werewolves should definitely be talking about how
I was
fuckable
gonna
I am.
say we should look at where the werewolves average. What is the average ranking of the werewolves on this list?
Oh.
Because I'm very
2.
curious of whether it's like higher or lower than the median.
Oh.
Yeah, so Stu's average ranking was 7.75. He's number 7 on the list. Anton's average was 12 exactly. And he ended up at number 13 on the list. Stu is like just shy of like the middle of the top half.
Mm-hmm.
And Anton is like just above the middle of the bottom half. So they're like they're like pretty dang close to the middle if you average out the two of them.
Okay.
Werewolves, the safe fuck.
I mean, they're not especially hot compared to
Yeah, they're just there.
even with
you
kids'
know?
vote.
I tried. The very biased furry vote.
Uh-huh.
And now we ask ourselves, what did we learn here today?
I don't know how I would characterize this show, but I think that, and the movie as well, but mainly the show, I don't know how I would characterize it, but I feel like we are missing a dimension of measuring it on hard choices because it's not a super fucky show, but I think there's a reason you might think it would be good for hard choices and that it would be like, they would make a strong showing because there's a lot of appeal to the sexuality of the characters in this show in places.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love Laszlo and Nadja's relationship. I love Guillermo and Nandor and like the tension there. You constantly have all the characters having sex with each other. There are a lot of like highly motivated sexual characters in various ways. So it's like, I don't know what the word for it is, but like there are a lot of characters here who I'm interested in their sex lives and their sexualities. And I like their relationships. I don't know why that doesn't translate it into it being a fuckier show.
Yeah, I'm in a similar place. There's a dimension that we're not catching and I don't quite know what it is. I also think I found that like comedies haven't necessarily done very well on hard choices in terms of being fucky, except the Muppets. Like, but I think
Something about him.
a lot of other comedy franchises have not done very well on hard choices.
Yeah, that's, that has something to do with it because I feel like maybe part of what's going on here is that these characters are having a lot of sex, but the most interesting, hottest sex is the sex they're not having. Speaking of jazz. The most interesting thing is like it's Guillermo Nandor. It's like the kind of the person that you wish people would find, or like or some of, I don't know. It's like, and with the Muppets, it's like, because none of the characters are having a canonical sex with each other, you know, it's all implicit. Like you fill in that blank. Whereas if you ask what kind of sex these characters are having, it's the comedy sex that is only so good on the show.
But at the same time, like they're often very open about them having sex, but the show is positioned in such a way where their whole dialogue and characterization is positioned as being just like normal and like bordering on blasé.
Mm-hmm.
They're having sex, but there's no like mystique to it. You know, like there's no glamour to it. It's just like they're having sex the way that normal people have sex, or at least that's the way that it's positioned. Like, even if they're talking about like having orgies or like, you know, fucking multiple times a day or whatever, it's like, yeah, but they're not viewing that as anything special. You know, like it's not framed as anything remarkable.
It's like, this is sex that is vampire normal.
Yes, exactly.
I think I learned that I spent so long dreaming about being domed by a werewolf that I never realized how much I wanted to dom the werewolf. Who knows what I'll find out on the werewolf episode?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
You just keep on howling at that moon, baby.
Yeah. Do those moon-a-woos.
Yeah. I think I learned bat.
I know Dan actually left.
That's very good.
He flew off. The sight gag on an audio show.
Oh, this is tremendous.
Yeah, it's really wasted because like that was a great effect. He turned right into a bat.
Yeah. Oh man, I hope he doesn't have rabies. He never got his shots. It's definitely bitten me. Oh no.
Now you're worried about rabies.
Yeah. All that werewolf sex you were having before. You're really not doing yourself any favors.
I know. Oh, you're right. Damn it.
Actually, no, you probably just have fleas is what it is.
Ooh.
Wow.
Itchies.
I take my baths.
And with that, we now bring ourselves neatly to plugs. Dan, what would you like to plug? And I do hope that you'll plug Smash Fiction, because that deserves more shout outs.
Oh, sure. We used to do, by we I mean me and Kit and MeganBob and Kris once in a while. We used to do a show called Smash Fiction. It started off as a debate podcast that posited the question each episode of which fictional character would come out on top in a given kind of fight or contest or something along those lines. Each of the hosts would, you know, choose to represent a character. One of the hosts would judge it. There's a lot of yelling, but in what I think was a pretty fun way. There was a lot of sex jokes that eventually led to this show.
Yeah, for sure.
But Smash Fiction eventually kind of like evolved out from that core premise into a show about fictional character crossovers more broadly. We started doing an actual play RPG in which all of the players played fictional characters and they went through different worlds, like different fictional worlds in this like giant storyline. We did these kind of like games from time to time where we would like make a new movie using pre-existing fictional characters. We did a speed dating reality show with fictional characters called Shipwreck that was really fun. Yeah,
very
like,
early hard choices.
Yes, very early hard choices. Yeah, I still think the show is pretty good. We haven't done it in several years. I mean, it's basically defunct, but like all those episodes are still up. And if you want to go give it a listen, you can hear the start of this show. And also just like enjoy what I think is a relatively good podcast.
Yeah, definitely some early gold on there. Kris, do you have any favorite episodes that you were on?
Yeah, I mean, there are a ton of great episodes in general. And yeah, episodes that I was on. Well, the episode where we met, actually.
That's true.
Yeah, it was.
That was a very romantic episode as well.
Yeah, it was Kirk and Spock versus Sam and Frodo. It was like a ship.
Who would kiss first?
Who would kiss first? And there's like a wedding bonus round. Yeah, that was the episode where we met. And the first thing I ever said to you is, "Will you be on my podcast?"
Yeah,
forever. I said under my breath, and it worked. But no, that one was really good. And for like conceptually, one that I suggested that I couldn't believe you guys picked was MST3K versus the King in Yellow. that was a lot of fun. And a rare opportunity to like grief the podcast with an unreasonably long opening, like quote unquote stinger that was basically like a whole play.
Yeah, that episode is very good, including your I would say bullying that you did at the very start with that original play reading. Yeah, no, good stuff. There's a lot of good stuff in that feed.
All right, Kit, do you have anything you want to plug?
Yeah. If you would like to get into touch with me, as Bob and Hub say, I'd take a stroll at night when the moon is a waning crescent. You will eventually come upon a black cat and call it over to you. Use the ancient chant of pss, 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 pss. It will approach you, and in its yellow eyes, you will see the handle that I use on all my social media. You have to look very quickly, though. Cats really don't like when you look them in the eyes. And this one in particular, if it scratches you, it will turn you into a cat. And not like a cat with a human consciousness. You're just going to be a cat.
Oh, wow.
And cats can't use the internet, so you won't be able to talk to me, and that'll be a real shame.
One of the great joys of having Kit on this podcast is, how will Kit spin out a little gothic fairy tale for us this time? Oh, wonderful.
It's not a fairy tale.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
It's a grim warning.
You could become a cat and then never be able to listen to hard choices again.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, better to not try, but, also, Kit's very fun to be in touch with, so swings and roundabouts. All right, Kris, all your vampire stuff.
Okay, so let me start at the beginning. I have a podcast. It's called MeganBob. It's a daily podcast, and it is about every single goddamn page of a role-playing supplement, except when it's not, which has been lately. But basically, it's one page of something every day. Right now, this whole season, I'm talking about Vampire the Masquerade. And so I've been talking about supplements, adventures for Vampire the Masquerade, stretching all the way back to the beginning of the line in the early 90s. And as of the release of this episode, this month in October, I am releasing a Halloween-themed week of Hunter the Reckoning stuff. Then after that, it's going to be straight on into Gehenna, the end of the vampire world and the end of this season. So there's a big backlog of vampire stuff. If you want to even start season 6 from the beginning, that will give you tons of vampire content. And there's some werewolves in there too. Yeah, so that's the show. In the past, I've done a side series called Fuck, Marry, Slay, which is, I feel like, kind of in the lineage of Hard Choices. It was inspired by some stuff that then kind of like fed back in. So like, that's a thing to listen to. I did that with Claire Mulcairn, and that is where I went through every clan from Vampire the Masquerade and rated how much the vampires of that clan deserve to be fucked, married, and or slayed. And I also did a bunch of bonus episodes about bloodlines, lesser groups of vampires, with various guests, including Bob. And also on the MDC feed, that's where we have the big project that's, I'm sure, is going to lead into Bob's plugs, because the very first thing on Bob's OnlyFans is a project that came out of this season of MDC, where Bob was playing a character called Sugar, who started out in the regular episodes and got increasingly horny episodes behind higher and higher paywalls until everything got way out of hand, and we had to call Mr. OnlyFans on the phone and be like, "Sir, open your website to us. We're coming through. We got a truckload of content here."
Mr. OnlyFans.
For some reason, the name Tony Fans
Tony,
popped
that's
into
pretty
my
good.
head as like, yeah, Tony Fans, yeah.
I like this.
Yeah, that's good. But yeah, so there's mostly it's daily MDC and Fuck, Marry, Slay, and then a bunch of bonus episodes like Bob and I did Street Friender together.
Yeah.
So all kinds of stuff. You can go to megadumbcast.podbean.com, or you can go to patreon.com/megadumbcast if you want the stuff that's behind the paywall. And on Patreon, you will find the whole back catalog. This podcast, it's been going on a real long time at this point.
Yeah. I think about the rectangularity thing
Mm-hmm.
all the time and get angry at how funny Kris is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. It's
frankly
very
unfair.
flattering, but my greatest accomplishment is, of course, getting you to get naked on mic on a podcast pointlessly.
Yeah, speaking about me getting naked on a mic on a podcast. So, one of the most recent projects that I did was for the OnlyFans, but also there's just podcast content of it called The Embrace of Sugar. And it is a short-ish Vampire the Masquerade prelude where a sexy character is embraced in a very sexy way. And pictures were taken of it because she is a stripper. You can see it either through onlyfans.com/MeganBob, or you can experience just the podcast on Kris's feed at the $3 level. And then also Bad Choices. Nick at Night couples. That is coming Saturday, November 23rd at 5 p.m. Pacific. And if you're like, I don't know if we watched a lot of Nick at Night, I don't really remember. I Love Lucy. Bewitched.
Yep.
Kris, name some other shows.
Morticia and Gomez Adams are in this episode.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Oh,
damn.
If you want to join us, you can, and by God, you should. Bad Choices is a good fucking time. So you get in to see Bad Choices for $1.69. Like, that's all. You just have to subscribe to the Hard Choices Patreon for $1.69. You can register for Bad Choices and roll on up on Saturday, November 23rd at 5 p.m. Pacific. Have a drink with us. Have too many drinks with us. That's certainly what we're going to be doing. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else I need to say about Bad Choices?
I mean, last but not least, if you love this show, please tell somebody about it, because it is very hard to advertise not safe for work stuff on social media these days. It's very anti-adult content.
Yeah. So if you want to share this with people, that would mean a ton. Please go to your favorite subreddit. Go to, like, on social media, any social media, especially like social media where you're interacting with other people about like the topic of that episode. Anytime that comes up, please drop a link to Hard Choices. People might be a little scared of something like this horny. You have to tell them, baby, don't worry. It's going to be a good time.
Oh, they'll love that. Yeah, stroke their face.
Be a close talker. No, please let other people know about the show. And please, if you're not a patron and have ever considered becoming a patron, do so now, because this is the first time that Bad Choices has been open to people at the Bob's Buddies tier, which is the $1.69. I want you to be at Bad Choices. I really do. It's going to be so much fun, and I really want you there. So please come on over to Patreon. And if you're already a patron, please go to the post and register. And if you subscribe at the $4.20 tier, you get a bingo card, and you get to play bingo during the show with all the filthy things that we say. Oh God, I didn't even mention the fact that you get to vote for the filthy fanfic that I'm going to write that we drunkenly read at the end. Bad Choices is a lot, people. A lot of sexy, awful, beautiful, horny things happen during Bad Choices. It's worth it. You're going to be glad you came. Da-da-da.
It's a very, very interactive good time.
Did we say when it is?
Oh, Saturday, November 23rd at 5 p.m. Pacific.
Boom. Now you can come.
And if you'd like more of that content, onlyfans.com/MeganBob. I know that they have a ton of that type of material there.
True story. All right. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. We hope it is suitably spooky for your October. Join us next month, not only for Bad Choices, but also for Hard Choices Dragon Ball. It is going to be a lot.
Wow.
Yeah. So come back in November to watch that unfold. And come hang out with us for Bad Choices, people. Please. It's going to be so much fun. All right. Thank you for joining us. It's been lovely. And with that, stay hard.
Insert funk here.
This has been Hard Choices. If you want to show your support and get access to all kinds of extra episodes, outtakes, and other goodies, go to patreon.com/hardchoices. You can get in on the after party for as little as $1.69, baby. You can see more of MeganBob's solo work over at onlyfans.com/MeganBob. It's free to subscribe, and there's some choice stuff to savor if you're ready to drop a few bucks on bespoke sexiness. If you had a good time listening, please leave a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Heck, drop a recommendation to us on social media. Tell a friend about the show. Tell your favorite subreddit. Anything you do to spread the word means a ton and helps Hard Choices become more powerfully thirsty than ever before. This episode was produced by Kris Newton. Go listen to his podcast, MegaDumbcast, and laugh your fucking ass off at the weirdness of role-playing games. You can listen to his work at megadumbcast.podbean.com or support his work at patreon.com/megadumbcast. The music used in this production is licensed through Upbeat. You can find details in our show notes and hear lots of great tunes at upbeat.io, spelled UPPBEAT.io. The Hard Choices logo is designed by Elliot B.K. Lang. Please go follow their work at Elliot B.K. Lang on Blue Sky, spelled ELLIOTBKLANGE.BSKY.social. Their art is so cute. If you'd like to get into touch with us, email hardchoicespod@gmail.com and say, hey. Thank you so much for listening and hanging out with us. You're a peach!